Hi friends, hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. Hello, hi. So today's video, we are going to be doing some unpopular opinion reaction. You guys know every now and again, I really like doing these videos. Number one, I love talking about topics that maybe wouldn't be like an entire video, but it's something different from what I normally talk about. And number two, I like hearing what you guys have to say. I went through and like pre-picked to try to find ones that were genuinely unpopular, because I feel like sometimes this video can turn into like actually popular opinions that just like reinforce my beliefs. So I tried to pick ones that were a little spicy. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing well. Candle of the day is champagne toast. She's burning over there. And let's jump right into it.
Hi friends, Editing Me here, and today's video is sponsored by Casetify. You guys know that I have been using Casetify's phone cases for a few months now, and I absolutely love all of their different designs, patterns, and the way that you can customize your cases. Casetify's phone cases are slim and protective, and they have a range of impact cases that, depending on which one you get, are drop test approved for up to 6 feet or 9 feet. If you get the ultra impact, it's up to 9 feet, which, let me tell you, I drop my phone constantly, and these phone cases have saved my screen. Casetify's cases are antimicrobial and they kill up to 99% of bacteria, which is wonderful. And their ultra impact cases are made with 50% recycled material, so that way you can feel good knowing that your phone looks great. I absolutely love the cow print. I think it's super trendy, super fun. Always get compliments on this one, and also my shark one. I got this one because my dog's favorite animal is a shark. Don't ask. So I love this one too. This one again is another favorite. They do a ton of different collaborations with influencers and artists, and I got this one from that drop and love this one. And of course, you can make them customized. So this one has my name on it. I was able to pick the font. I was able to pick where the writing went. Really, really great phone cases for, in my opinion, a very good price point. If you're interested in trying Casetify cases, you can go to casetify.com/smokyglow to get 15% off your purchase. Thank you so much to Casetify for sponsoring this video and keeping my phone looking so cute and protected, and let's jump into the video.
Okay, the first one is, I wish new parents wouldn't make Instagram accounts for their newborns. I think this is f***ing weird. I'm sorry. I think it's weird. The only time I don't think it's weird is if the account, because I know people that do this and I heavily, number one, respect it, and number two, I actually like this, where people will make like a small Instagram account that only has their friends and family following it, that's a private account, that they can just like spam and post a ton of pictures of, so they can have their friends and family keep up with all the cute pictures without making them super public. So in that case, it's like different from their normal Instagram because it's private and a lot less people follow it. But then the people that you want to share the pictures with all the time can actually still see them, and the privacy of your child is preserved. The other thing I don't like, and this is just personal preference, I don't like when people make Instagrams for their children and write the caption as if the child wrote the caption. I don't know why that is weird to me, but I mean, I've never been a parent, so I don't like to judge too heavily with that type of stuff. But when you write it from the perspective of the child, it's always very weird to me. The only accounts I like that do things like that is dog accounts. Like, if you're having a dog account and you can be funny with it, please post from the perspective of the dog. That's some of my favorite content. For some reason, when people do it with living, breathing children, I just find it to be incredibly odd. Like, I just don't like that at all. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion, but that's like my least favorite thing that I'll see on Instagram, is people writing from the perspective of their child as if their child had this Instagram. It's strange. Anyway, I also don't like that. I do like the private accounts though, and I think that's so cute, because then like I follow a few from like my personal friends, and I love being able to see their babies because they're very cute. Kourtney Kardashian's PDA is no one's business. I have a whole video actually for Glowmas. Glowmas is happening. I have a whole video planned for Glowmas that's actually a collaboration to do with the Kardashians, and like it's gonna be a whole thing, so I'm not gonna get too into the Kardashians in general, even though there were a ton of opinions about the Kardashians. But this one was interesting to me because it's talking about Kourtney Kardashian and her relationship with Travis Barker. Honestly, I agree with this. And I know a lot of people feel very strongly about their relationship being very cringy, or thinking that like their PDA is like way too much or crazy. I don't know. I think it's something where like when I was younger, I definitely felt very uncomfortable with PDA from like other people, for myself. Like I hated PDA. And even now I'm not big on PDA, but I also just like don't care anymore. Like I feel like the older you get, you just start like not giving giving a shit what other people think about you. Like, that's kind of where I'm at right now, is like, I just don't care what people think about me or my relationship, and I don't really like care. I just can't care. Like, I've been with Charles for so long at this point, and also I'm just like too old to worry about other people's opinions of like a very personal thing. So like, I low-key agree with this, that it's like, who cares if they make out on a beach? Like, who cares? Who cares if they're cuddling in Venice on a yacht? Like, I don't give a shit about that. I don't care if they're doing that. Go ahead. I don't even care that they got engaged. Like, it was like, okay, that's cool. Like, I feel from Kourtney's perspective that she's just like in her 40s, she has kids, she's like living her life, and she just like doesn't care what other people think about her relationship in particular. And I also don't care if people in my life do like crazy PDA or things like that. Definitely used to annoy me when I was younger, but the older I get, I'm like, who cares? Life's short. Make out with who you want to make out with, whenever you want, you know? This one says, I think it's important for kids to date in high school and even middle school. This one is tough for me. I don't know how I feel about this one. I dated in middle school. We hugged once. Middle school dating is not usually real. I won't say all the time, because I actually have 2 people I went to high school with who started dating in middle school, and they literally got married. So like, I don't want to say it's always not working out. Usually middle school relationships are just sort of experimentation of what you're seeing in the adult world, because you're all starting to like have those same thoughts at the same time. So that's kind of usually, at least for me, that was my experience in middle school, was we all were just like pretending we had boyfriends, because like that's what our older siblings were doing, or like what we would see on TV. I do feel like dating in high school too, I guess I feel 50-50 about this. Do I think it's important for people to date in high school and middle school? No, I actually don't really think that's important at all. I feel like you don't really need to date in middle school or high school to like, I guess I wish there was an explanation here of like what the lesson is supposed to be from dating in middle school and high school. Cause I like dated kind of, but like not really in high school. Like, I talked to people, and I don't really know what like lesson you're supposed to learn. I also feel like the amount of meaningful relationships, like in romantic relationships, that come out of people in high school is pretty low. Like, statistically, people do last, and like high school sweethearts are absolutely a thing, but also statistically you're much more likely to break up with that person, and also you're a lot less likely to actually learn any sort of lesson from that person, just because of the age you're at and the way your brain is developing. So like, I don't know. I feel like dating in high school is really not that important. I also think, this is becoming such a long answer, I'm so sorry, but I also think low-key, like, dating in high school and middle school, like, there's a lot of, like I said, you're mimicking societal pressures and things like that. Sex education in school is not great. So like, you're trying to mimic societal things that you're seeing, which includes sex. You're not getting proper sexual health education, and that's where a lot of problems can come in and a lot of issues can happen. So if it's important for kids to date in middle school and high school, it's also important for them to have comprehensive sexual health education. And that's my 2 cents on that. Shane Dawson has shown tremendous growth in the past year. So I have a whole video coming out. I believe it's going live on Friday. That's basically a comprehensive review and analysis of his series that he launched. And I think the common comment that I was seeing was very similar to this, which is that he's shown a lot of growth and change. I guess I'd like somebody to point me to where they feel they've seen that growth and change, if you would, because to me, he was very calculating and sneaky in the way that he came back. And also, when he did come back, he didn't actually address any of the reasons he left in the first place. He just kind of was like, things happened, moving on. To me, like, actual growth and understanding of the hurt you caused would be being able to at least explain the hurt you've caused in some sort of comprehensive way. And he has yet to do that, and it doesn't seem like he is ever going to do that. So I don't really understand where people are getting this whole like growth thing. I think just enough time has passed that a lot of people have forgotten a lot of the things that happened. Personally, that's why I think people are saying he's shown growth, because there's really no growth. He's literally pretty much the exact same, except for he's like a little bit more cautious about jokes he makes. He hasn't shown any sort of like acknowledgement of anything yet. So I don't understand that one, I guess. I do disagree with that. This one says, I love you and this is not a dig at you, but makeup should not be a thing and it's gross to me how normal it is. I get liking the self-expression artistic part of makeup. Women having to use to be pretty is whack. I struggle with this one. I screenshotted it because I was like, I guess I don't really know how I feel about that. I don't like the sort of idea that you have to wear makeup to be pretty, or you have to wear makeup to be put together, or whatever. I really dislike that because you absolutely don't. Like, you don't need makeup to like leave your home. However, I also don't like the idea that the only way makeup can be valuable to people is if you're doing something that's inherently artistic. So if you're doing some sort of really amazing Instagram level, like beautiful, like truly art, because a lot of makeup artists are artists, like that is what they are. They're doing these amazing, incredible looks. I don't like the idea that if you're not doing that caliber of makeup, that you're just doing it to try to look prettier and therefore you're just like vain and like buying into all, like I don't really like that, because I think even just doing a look like this, that's a very simple like brown smoky eye with like gloss, I still think that that can be considered a form of art, or at the very least, to me, it's like a form of therapy. Like makeup has and always will be a form of therapy for me, and it's a way to express myself, even though it looks very basic and looks very much like it's not really anything. To me, it's still the way that I like to express myself and the way that I like to be creative. And so I think my only problem with that sort of assessment is just like, I don't like where people draw the line at what is art and what is creative and what is just for being vain. I don't like where that line falls. I think more people should be given credit that maybe they genuinely just like putting on some concealer and some eyeshadow because it makes them feel good without having to create like the Sistine Chapel on their face. You know, this one made me laugh so hard. Harry Potter is an asshole. Yeah, that's like the whole point of the 7 books. He is kind of an asshole. He's definitely not the best. Not the best character by any means. I would say Luna Lovegood's probably my favorite character, her or Hermione, but he's also the chosen one. He's got a lot of weight to bear. You know what Harry Potter kind of reminds me of? You know the royals? You know, like Queen Elizabeth and like Harry and William and all of them. Harry Potter kind of reminds me of the royals, where like they're all kind of haughty and sometimes can be kind of assholes, but it's like, well, their life path was dictated for them the second that they were born, and they really had no say or choice in the matter of how their life was gonna go. Like literally not even a little bit of a choice. That's kind of how I feel about Harry Potter. Like he really, from the time he was pretty much born, I mean, he was like 1, I think, but from the time he was like born, 1 years old, whatever, a baby, his life path was determined for him, and he did not have an out from being that. Like there was no other choice other than to do all of these crazy battles and like fight Voldemort and do all of those things. And I feel like it's very similar to the parallels of like being born into an incredibly famous family. That's a little bit different. I feel like the royals are the only good comparison of like, you truly have no fucking choice. Like you have no choice in your own destiny. Your path is laid out for you 1000%. And that's kind of how I feel about Harry Potter. So I feel like if my life was laid out for me 1000% and I had no choice and I was incredibly famous and also incredibly scrutinized from a very young age, I feel like I also would kind of be an asshole. I do feel like he sometimes gets a little too much shit for like the incredible trauma he went through. Anyway, so do you ever just hate yourself? Do you ever finish a thought and then you're like, what the fuck is wrong with me? This one was interesting. It says, you're transitioning out of YouTube. So I wasn't expecting unpopular opinions about me. So I was a little taken aback by that one, but I actually wasn't, and I wasn't gonna address this one, but I got a few that were just like that one, of people being like, you're quitting YouTube. I guess I just wanna say, like, first of all, I'm very much not quitting YouTube. Like, not at all. I know I've taken a couple of breaks and I've been posting less frequently since August. It's not really because I'm like trying to transition away from being a YouTuber or trying to not do this job anymore. Like it really doesn't have anything to do with that. And it's much more just to do with the fact that like I'm struggling deeply. I don't know a better way to say it. I'm like genuinely just struggling a lot with like a lot of different things. I've had some like physical health problems going on. I've had some mental health problems going on. So it's not like a conscious, oh my God, I'm making an exit plan because I hate doing this. It's more so I've just been you know, in a weird place in a lot of different ways, and that has just been very weird to navigate while also being a person who like constantly posts YouTube videos. I love doing YouTube. I'll probably keep making them for a pretty extended period of time. I don't see myself stopping in the near future. With that being said, obviously it's a job that stresses me out greatly. The best way I can describe it to people, especially this past like 3 weeks, because I went like 3 weeks without posting, which is very weird for me. I normally don't take that much time off unless it's like designated I took that time off. But what happened was I was mentally sick and physically sick. It was just a bad combination, and I was also very busy and just had like a lot of life stuff happening. I was talking to my friends about it, and they were like, yeah, you haven't posted in like 20 days? And I was like, yeah, that did happen. And I was basically like, do you know how like if you ever are doing a school assignment and you are turning it in late already and you like forgot to do it and you forgot to communicate with the professor that like it was going to be late, and then you just like keep putting it off and putting it off and putting, is this just me? Is this just a me thing? Keep putting it off and putting it off because you have like this weird anxiety, even though you know if you just emailed your professor and you were like, hey, I forgot about this assignment, sorry, and you submitted it, everything would be fine and like it would be better than getting a 0. You psych yourself up so much about it that then you have this weird fear of just like coming back. That's where I was the past 3 weeks with YouTube. I spent that first week totally unintentionally like not posting, and then I spent the next 2 weeks having just varied panic attacks about how I was supposed to come back and what I was supposed to say and if my video would be good enough to justify being away for so long. And just like the only way you can get over that is to just do it, like to just post the video or just turn in the assignment or just like talk to your boss at work. Like that's the literal only way you can get over it. But sometimes it's easier said than done. So that's where I've been. But no, I'm not transitioning out of YouTube. I have no intention of doing that in the near future. If I did, I would tell you guys. I wouldn't just like ghost. I'm not quitting YouTube. I'm just struggling. Okay, this one says, makeup products haven't become boring. We've just consumed so much of it. Again, I heavily agree with this one, but I also think it's unpopular because I think we have to take a good hard look at our own makeup consumption to admit that this is true. I've actually been doing this, so I'm moving soon. So spoilers for my life, but I will update everyone soon on like what's going on. But like I am moving soon, and I've had to take a really severe look into like my life and just like what I actually want to bring to this new place and like how I want to set everything up. And like I've had to look at my makeup collection, and there was a day where I just finally was like, I've had enough. And I decluttered so much makeup. I gave it to all my friends and I was like, pick whatever you want. People ended up taking a bunch of stuff, so they got a bunch of new makeup. But like I just hit a wall where I was like, I have so much of the same shit and I just like can't take it anymore. And I don't think this is in any way me being on a path toward like being a minimalist, because like that probably will never happen. I am not that type of person. But like I also think that with my makeup collection, I've always said that I've always wanted it to stay in my vanity. I never ever want like 5 Alex 9 drawers full of makeup. Like I've always wanted it to stay contained to the vanity, and it was starting to overflow out of my vanity at like a rapid rate because number one, I was getting PR, and number two, I was just like buying stuff, or I had all this old stuff that I wasn't getting rid of, that I wasn't using. And like I think the problem with makeup consumption right now, especially if you started makeup around when I did, I guess this experience would only make sense to you if you did start makeup around when I did, you had a similar experience. But back in like 2016 when I first started doing makeup, I could not get enough of new releases. Every new release was exciting. I wanted everything. I couldn't afford anything, and I wanted all of it, and I was just so excited by everything. And now it's probably once every like couple of months I get genuinely excited about a launch. And even if I see something and I think like, oh, that's kind of cute. Like for example, I saw at ColourPop, they did this like NBA collection where they had, was it NBA or NFL? Pretty sure it was the NBA. They had this NBA collection where it was like all these different NBA teams. And the only reason, I'm not a big NBA person obviously, but like I liked the fact that it was really cohesive. I could appreciate the branding, I could appreciate the color story, but I was looking at all those palettes and I was like, I own all of that. Like I own those palettes. And like that was a moment where I was like, I don't think that it's that this is bad or boring, because it's not. I've just been doing makeup for long enough now that I have my tried and true products, and I've also tried just like a ton of different stuff. With that being said, I do definitely think there are still a lot of makeup products that get put out that are half-assed, lazy, boring. Like I don't think that's not true. I just also think sometimes it's easier to just blame a brand for like falling off instead of being like, or maybe I was just a makeup goblin, to quote Nisa. pizza, and maybe that's why everything feels boring now, because I've already tried a bunch of it, you know? People who started YouTube years ago had it way easier than anyone starting now. Who was I just talking about this with? I think it was somebody, I think I was talking about it with my hairdresser. I was just talking about this to somebody where I was saying, like, if I had started my YouTube channel yesterday with the same type of content, same kind of like editing knowledge I know now, same whatever, there is absolutely not a chance in hell that I would have the channel I have now. Like, there in 4 years, however long, like there is no way that I would have been able to grow the way that I did right now, just because I think, and it's not, this isn't to discourage people from starting a YouTube channel, because that doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Like, people are still blowing up all the time, new people are still finding incredible amounts of success. Like, it definitely still happens. I think it's just harder now, and I think a big reason for that is, number one, I think that the type of content that is popular on YouTube is very different from what it used to be. It used to be a lot of shorter videos and more like, I don't know what the word is, but it was like shorter videos, and now it's this very long form, heavily edited, like it's a lot more intense of content to have to make as somebody who is not used to making content. That's just number one. Number two, I think it's harder to get into the algorithm because so many YouTubers are already existing and have numbers behind them that pushes them before you. Number three, I think it's just harder to get noticed because pretty much all communities are oversaturated with different people. Everybody is, you know, you have new people joining YouTube every day. I think a few years ago, while it was definitely still like oversaturated and it was definitely hard to get noticed, it was substantially easier than I think it would be today. So I actually agree with that one. I hate going to the movie theater even pre-pandemic. Yeah, okay, I only screenshotted this one because I needed to know if other people also have very, very irrational fears of being in movie theaters, because it's like embarrassing how nervous and anxious movie theaters make me. And I know that I have like generalized anxiety, and so I'm anxious about everything. But do other people have just like horrific fears of just terrible shit happening in movie theaters? Because I feel like I can't even enjoy the movie most of the time. I'm like constantly on edge. One thing I've been loving is me and some of my friends will sometimes split to do a private watch party. So it's basically where if you have enough people, it's absolutely worth it. You can like rent out the entire theater and pick whatever movie you want to watch, and you can just go and it's just you guys in there. I think Cinemark does it, is who we do through. But sometimes a group of my friends and I will all pool together and we'll rent out one of the theaters. And I swear to God, it's like the most enjoyable way for me to watch a movie ever. I wish it wasn't so expensive to do every time, even though obviously that makes sense. But like, I so much more enjoy just being around only my friends, people I trust, people I know, than sitting in a dark room with strangers. I don't know. I think I just watch too much like true crime, honestly. Fake YouTubers have been taking breaks recently because their views are down and they're already rich. So that might be true. I don't know the intentions of like every YouTuber who has ever taken a break in the last like 6 months. One thing I will say though is I think that YouTuber culture and like YouTube content creators are kind of just mirroring what's happening in the workforce right now. COVID drained a lot of people, and even though YouTubers were in a unique position, and like social media content creators were in a unique position where they didn't have to leave their house to work, which was honestly a very privileged position to be in, it was definitely still like the same way that people who worked from home and were able to work from home all for the past year and a half or whatever. I think that YouTubers are experiencing that same kind of fatigue that people who just did that did. Like, I even know just from trying to do like Zoom school and stuff like that, it gave me major fatigue. I think that's just what's happening right now. Like, I think it's very reflective of how most of our society is feeling, which is that we're all just tired and we're all just like over the bullshit and just like over the intense grind and hustle that we were doing pre-COVID, because now it's just kind of like, why were we doing that? I also think a lot of people just want to like enjoy life a little bit. I think now that numbers are at least a little bit down, now that there's a vaccine, I think people are trying to just like live their lives as well, because they spent so much time inside for the most part. So obviously I'm sure there's some people who are like, you know, views are down, whatever, but I would wager the majority of people just want to like take a break from everything that the last 2 years has done to us. Even though it's not over, like COVID is not over, it's definitely because it's slowing down a little bit and people are having time to reflect. I think that's why a lot of people are taking breaks. It's the same reason a lot of people are quitting jobs, same reason a lot of people are taking time off, like same thing. Okay, this one. People are gonna disagree with me on this one, but I believe this to my core. I used to get made fun of so much. This one says best friend is a tier, not a person. Yes, absolutely. Everybody always in high school used to get so, they're not mad at me, but they would make fun of me because they were like, you call everyone your best friend. I just love people. I've always been like this. I call everyone bestie. I call everyone my best friend. I know people for like 5 weeks and I'm like, you're my best friend, you're my bestie. Like, I can't help it. I form really deep connections with people very, very quickly. And on top of that, I don't really like that there's like one person you have to pick as your like all-time best friend ever. I'm sure if I had to sit down, like gun to my head and like rank my friends, I could do that, but I don't want to. Everybody fills a different purpose for me. Every single one of them I love and treasure for very different reasons, some of them. And I don't understand why the whole like best friend thing, why you can only have one best friend. I have so many best friends. Even for the wedding, you have to pick like a maid of honor and like a best man. I have 2 people serving as like my maid of honor and my man of honor because I have a guy who's one of my best friends. Even that was terrible. I hated doing that. I hated picking between all of the people I had chosen to pick like my top tier people. Like, it's definitely a tier system. That's how I view it, at least. I always have been like that, though. I call everyone best friends. This one says, I love baby showers, but wedding showers are boring. Okay, I'm in the process right now of actually planning my wedding shower, and I actually agree with this. Not that they're boring, I just like don't necessarily get the point, because traditionally the point is that's when you get a lot of like gifts and stuff. But I know me personally, and also a lot of people I've gone to wedding showers for, they don't really need any gifts because like they already are living with their significant other and have the bulk of the things that they would need in a new home or whatever. So I think that the way that it's done is somewhat old-fashioned, but I will say I had a lot of fun when I went to my friend Amber's a few months ago. We had a blast. We played a bunch of games. I feel like it's really just about how you do it. I think a lot of people focus it purely around just like the gifting part, but if you like play a bunch of games, you have like a really fun theme, it can also just be a really nice way for a lot of people in your life that you care about to get together and just like another way to celebrate, you know, getting married. Audiobooks are greater than regular books. Absolutely. 1000%. Audiobooks forever. Love them. Yes. You shouldn't review makeup if you're not good at makeup. That felt personal. No, I'm just kidding. It's so, what is good? Like, I don't know. I feel like it's good at makeup is so subjective. And I also feel like even if you think there's like a right way to do makeup, right? Like if somebody likes how they look with their makeup on, why can't they just talk about it with other people? If somebody else happens to like it, why can't they learn from that person? I feel like the biggest thing I learned doing YouTube is that I used to be so incredibly hard on myself for not being this amazing pro makeup person. Like I used to really beat myself up about it and be like, you're not even qualified to talk about this stuff. But then all the comments I get are people being like, I love that you're just normal. Like I love that you're a normal person who does makeup still and talks about makeup and talks about your perspective with makeup, and like I love that. And like those are the people I like watching. As much as I love watching people who are obviously much better than me at makeup too, because it's like interesting, I love watching people who just do like a normal smoky eye and like call it a day and like aren't trying to get too fancy with it and can review a product in a way that I understand, because that is how I would also use the product. As much as I love bigger beauty gurus, a lot of them review products in a way that is not useful to me because I will never use the product like that. Whereas with somebody who maybe is like a little amateur at makeup, I can relate to that. Like that helps me. That review helps me. So I actually think people of all different skill sets and styles should be reviewing makeup and talking about it, because the more people we have, number one, it normalizes that not everybody needs to be an expert at how to do a cut crease. And number two, I think that it genuinely helps people be smarter consumers because they are seeing somebody who matches their skill level actually review the product at their skill level. Like I think that's valuable. This one said some feminists can be really toxic. Some anything can be really toxic. Men, children, like anybody can be, anybody who's in a group of people can be toxic. That's like saying sometimes, you know, pizza can give you food poisoning. It's like, yeah, any food can give you poisoning. Any food can be bad. Any group of people can be bad. The phrases money can't buy happiness is a total lie. My issues wouldn't exist if I had money. I agree with this heavily. I I feel like high key this gives off very much white privilege isn't real vibes, where it's like people think that just because they've struggled, that means that their life isn't greatly improved by being white. And it's the same thing with this whole like money can't buy happiness thing. They're basically trying to be like, well, you can have money and still be sad. And it's like, yeah, but that's not really the point. Like, you can have money and be sad, but you're also not questioning if you can survive at all times. And I think that's a crucial difference. It's just a way to try to convince people that like having money isn't good, because it's like easier to convince people of that, to try to make people, to like keep people happy and satisfied with their financial situation. If you're just like, well, don't worry, even if you had money, you'd still be sad. And it's like, yeah, but I wouldn't be starving. So there's that. I wouldn't be questioning if I need to choose toilet paper or laundry detergent this week. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? No, I absolutely agree with that one. I also think that it's like very misleading and like high key a lie to say that 99% of people's problems don't come from financial stress. Like, that there's been studies done that prove that financial stress is the #1 reason a lot of people end marriages. It's the #1 reason people have stress to begin with. If you asked 100 people on the street what their biggest concern is right now, I would imagine most of the people would have something to do with money and not having enough of it. I also don't think that's an unpopular opinion, but it might be actually. Okay, this one I felt as a personal attack. Minivans are gross. I don't care how functional they might be. I will have you know, my first car ever was when I was 18. I was a senior in high school and I took over my parents' old minivan. It was a Toyota, and her name was Cindy. She was phenomenal. I don't care what anyone says, I would have a minivan again in a heartbeat. I loved that I could drive everyone around. I loved being the DD, the carpooler. I loved all of that. I loved that I could shove people in the back of the car and we could just all hang out and go for a ride. I also think a big reason I love my minivan was because I lived in a small town and there wasn't really anything to do other than drive around. Like, that is literally what we did for fun. It's like drive to abandoned bridges. So I loved the fact that I could like have all of my friends in the car with me. We didn't have to take 2 separate cars. We could all just like drive around and like have a good time. So I loved my minivan. I stand by the minivan and I would absolutely get another minivan. I don't even care how like ugly people think they are. It's so functional and like so fun. And I love that you can fit just endless activities in a minivan. So I loved my van. This one says influence. There was a lot of ones about like influencers, which I think is so interesting. This one says influencing isn't a real job. It's so funny because this one touches a nerve a little bit. I actually disagree with that. I think anytime that you're making any money from anything, it's a real job. Like, I don't think this is just particular to influencing. Like, my sister is a working actress and a lot of times people will be like, when are you gonna get a real job? And it's like, well, she has a real job. She's a working actress. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I have friends who are artists and people are like, well, what's your real job? Like, what's your day job? And they're like, no, I'm an artist. Like, I make art and I make money from my art. And even if I don't, still be an artist. Like, same thing with influencing or YouTube or Instagramming, whatever. Just because you don't view it as important or worthwhile doesn't mean other people don't, and also doesn't mean people can't make money from it. Anything you're making money from, even if it's not like a livable wage, but anything you're making money from is some form of income and in turn a type of job. Okay, this is the last one I'm gonna do. YouTubers should take announced PTOs throughout the year instead of going till they crash and die. Yeah, in an ideal world that would be great, but I think, again, I hate to keep relating it to like more like traditional 9-to-5 jobs, because obviously working for yourself in any capacity is very different. But it's like in any 9-to-5 job where you have a boss who will not let you take PTO even though you desperately need it. All you get is like 5 minutes to cry in the bathroom. I've worked those jobs. Can you tell? Where like you're short-staffed and like your employer is not gonna give you time off and you don't get a fucking break. It's the same thing with YouTube. Like, even though technically, yes, we could take a break and like could schedule more time before you start having that burnout. And even though technically, yes, that would be better for people's mental health, the way that the YouTube algorithm is set up is very similar to that boss that is short-staffed and will not give you time off. Like, it's a similar thing. If you don't post for a few weeks, you are really, really risking everything that you've just spent the past however long working for. You can fall out of the algorithm very easily on YouTube. Sometimes even when you are posting consistently, you can fall out of the algorithm very easily on YouTube. So it's the same reason why anybody can't just like take time off whenever they want to like do things. And I think people don't always get that because they think, well, it's like, well, you work for yourself, but it's like, yeah, you do, but you also also don't, because you technically work for YouTube. You have to kind of abide by the standards they have set out in order to be successful. So yeah, I think that's like a really, in an ideal world, I think every single person, not just YouTubers, should have weeks of paid time off a year. Or like maybe, I don't know, a 4-day work week, maybe a 3-day work week. Ideally, everybody would just be able to like be happy and survive at the same time. You wouldn't have to compromise your happiness or mental health for survival. That would be really cool, but apparently we can't do that. Apparently we are like pretty much the only developed nation in the world who can't fucking get it together and just do that for the people that live here. But anyway, it's like Americans, I swear to God, sometimes it feels like some Americans are like, just like, the idea of happiness seems like such a privilege to people that they feel like they have to struggle and suffer through life when like they don't. Like it literally does not have to be this hard. We don't have to hate our lives this much. Like we don't, it's true. Anyway, I love you guys so much. Thank you for dealing with my tangents and rants, and thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, or just like, or just subscribe, or do neither. Honestly, just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My merch, my social media, and everything I'm wearing on my face is gonna be linked in the little, there's like a little products tab that pops up now on YouTube. You can like see all the products I'm wearing. I've been trying to utilize that feature a little bit more, but love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!